Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Orange Peel Podcast. If this is your first time here, we want you to know that this is where we peel back the covers on juicy hidden truths. I'm so excited for our conversation today because we're going to be going into some more of the daddy letters, but specifically today, we have some different perspectives up on the stage with me. So we have a perspective from those of us who are still single, and then we have a perspective of those who are much wiser and have been married for a while. So we're hoping to get some really good wisdom out of this conversation and coming off of the daddy letters that were about romance and communication. But before we get into that, I want to ask, what do we all think that this apple pie means? This is a common theme that comes up at the end of every single daddy letter. And some of us have already talked about it before, but I want to hear specifically from those who have not answered it before. What do y'all think that this apple pie means or represents?
I still have no clue, to be honest. I really don't know, but I'm gonna take a guess. I guess when it comes to like making pies, particularly, there's a certain way that you need to do it. So you need to follow like certain instructions. And then after a while, when you practice and practice and practice, it comes second nature. So maybe it's the build up of the process of learning something and it becoming second nature to learn it. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Sister Broadnax, what do you think?
I kind of piggyback off of Rachel, but in another perspective, I think it's more like if you're making an apple pie, especially if you're making it with someone, it's kind of like brings the unity together, you know, because one person may have a different perspective on how to make apple pie, and another one have a different perspective on how to make an apple pie. But when you come together and, you know, bring both perspectives together, it makes for a very good apple pie.
Interesting. Sister Carr, what you think?
Well, I kind of think it has to do with family and together. The apple pie brings people together, and so that's kind of where I think it is. It's about the joining of individuals, family together.
It's kind of grounding because it's classic and it represents something that has been around for a long time. And these daddy letters are about relationships. And as we're entering into relationships and marriages, we're going into something new. And sometimes it can be really comforting to look back and know that something from your history is still there to kind of keep you grounded and rooted as you're going into these next seasons of your life. Very nice. Okay, we got to a good start already. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about daddy letters 8, 9, and 10. Now, number 8 and 9 were both about romance. And so the first question that I want to ask is, what do we think the difference is between romance and love? Is there a difference, and what is that difference? You're going to let
Go first, because I don't know.
The OGs,
Yes.
okay.
Originals. Yes.
Go first.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think the difference in romance and love, romance to me is knowing that you have someone who deeply shows love, concern, compassion, you know, just being in a position to know that you're with someone who goes that extra mile, you know, that sacrificial type of love. You know, and then love is when you just feel this certain inner something about this, you know, about that one person that you're with, that just kind of sustains everything else. It just kind of like make you stop in your tracks when you see this person come in a room or is around this person, you know, that inner just feeling that you have. So, you know, that's what I think the difference between romance and love is.
Okay. It almost sounds like what you're saying is that love is the foundation and romance is the outward expression of that.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Sister Carr?
I look at it as romance. Romance is more of just a feeling. I think it's your actions and all that kind of stuff, and those should be between two people. I don't think I can't romance everyone else. I romance one person, maybe. But that's where I think romance is. Love, I can love everybody. I can feel love for everybody and care for everybody, but I can't have romance with everybody.
It's exclusive. Yeah, okay. Rachel, what do you think? Because I think that romance is a little bit different maybe in the generations.
Yeah, I say that because like I feel like I haven't experienced a lot of romance. I mean, there's been time where it's like, oh, this is romantic, where it made me feel like it was romance. But like I was telling you earlier, like, you know, maybe if I had a hard day and I'm expressing it to my person and saying like, just today was horrible, and I come home or he comes meet me somewhere and he gives me like a bag of hot fries. Days change. I'm happy. So I guess it's like right, knowing your person and just being like we were talking about earlier,
Thoughtful.
being more thoughtful in the gestures, because you may not be a person who gives gifts or likes receiving gifts, but acts of service is something that you prefer, or words of affirmation. For me, that's something important to me, affirmation and acts of service. So if you're doing something when you're putting thought into it, to me, that's romantic. Especially for your other person, vice versa.
Yeah,
Right.
I think I would agree with a lot of what has been said, that romance is the outward expression. Romance is making someone feel special, and it's an expression of an attraction. Because I think about love, sometimes love doesn't look pretty. Sometimes love is like the nitty gritty, and it's the sacrifice, and it's the action. And love is sometimes the thing that's happening in the background that's moving things forward. But romance is about making you feel special in the moment and like externally.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what I think when I think about romance. I'm really interested to hear maybe how romance has changed, or what role romance played specifically with you two as you were maybe like, I don't know, courting or dating before we were married. What did that look like, or how important was romance in deciding to spend your life with someone, or was it a factor at all?
Yeah, it was definitely a factor. I mean, I need attention, and romance is a part of that. And having somebody that knows how to, and it could be the little things. You know, romance is just the little things. Did he flowers? You know, or did he make the meal? Or you know, or
Paying
did he do the
attention.
those types of things. That's all romance to me. And I think that's kind of old school, because now the romance,
Unfortunately.
they look at it a whole lot differently. But I mean, it is just the little things, you know, that you appreciate, and that's romantic to me.
Yeah, I agree. You know, because I know when me and my husband first got married, we were in high school. Well, when we first met, rather, we were in high school, and is when you're young, 16, and you meet this, 18-year-old who may be a little bit more experienced than you, and he's showing you different things that you're not accustomed to. And it just makes you feel like, oh, I got this guy. And just the attention that you get, and just the small things that they do. And just like Natalie say, but the older you get, it's kind of like settles down a little bit, but you still expect those small attentions or those small little gestures or something like that.
You got to keep the romance.
You got to keep it.
Yeah, you got to keep it going.
How do you do that though? Because I hear that the older we get, the more we're with someone.
It goes out.
Right, that maybe like it fizzles out a little bit, and that we kind of fall into the mundane. So how do you make sure?
Yeah, because that concerns me.
I think you just have to.
That concerns me a lot. 'Cause it's
I
like,
think you just have to be creative. Like even if it's just sitting and watching TV together. Sitting and just.
mental note.
Well, I mean, and sometimes you don't even necessarily have to have a conversation, but just being in the moment, or just being in sometimes the same room, or just in the same atmosphere. And that's for me. I mean, I can't speak for him. I'm just saying, for me, it's just being in the same space. The older you get, just like my husband and I, we like going camping, outdoor things, and we'll go and sit by the water, and it's just serene. We fishing or whatever, but just being in that space, that's to me, that's romantic.
Yeah. So staying intentional about each other.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing you say, because the romance is going to look different the longer that you're there, but it's what is behind it. So is it the thoughtfulness? Is it the intentionality? Is it giving any kind of attention? Is it being caring? Those things, it sounds like what I'm hearing is that we don't have to sacrifice those things, but the expression of those things is going to change the older you get and the longer you're with someone. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay, we can get with
that's a
that.
promise.
Listen,
Thanksgiving promise.
we are concerned.
I'm very concerned.
And you should be.
Right. Because for me, it's like, okay, I always thought it was going to be like that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, he buys you flowers. In high school, I dated a football player. So it was like, okay, I'm wearing his jacket. He goes to a different school. He has a car. It's just like, oh, he takes me on a date. So like, to me at high school, that was romantic. And then I get older, it's like, okay, I got my own car.
Right.
I
So
got my
now
own
what?
job. So what's next? Like,
Yeah.
what
Right.
am I seeing now that other guys are doing for other girls? And that's where the comparison comes into play. But that part I had to like block out because I got to figure out what's best for me and what I like. And as I was getting older, that was something that was always on the back of my head. Like, what do I like?
Right.
When it comes to, because I'm not really a flowers girl. I mean,
Me
I
neither.
am, but like,
I'm not.
me and my mom are the same. It's like, the flowers are going to die.
They're gonna.
So like,
Quickly.
that's one thing I don't like. But I like I was telling you, like giving,
Thoughtfulness.
being
Right.
thoughtful, like, oh, I saw this. And I
Thought of
thought
you.
Like stuff like that. So that's like where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's encouraging to hear that the romance doesn't have to die the longer that you're with someone. And
Right.
I've heard that over and over and over again. And now, because dating and relationships have changed so much, it really is a different world. Y'all are very blessed.
Right.
But now,
struggle.
I think sometimes we feel like we have to sacrifice romance for the
Yeah.
sake of a healthy relationship,
Right.
right?
Right.
So we're in this place now in society as single women where we're like, okay, well, what's the most important? Because we can't have all of it. They're not, they're either going to be romantic, but if they're very romantic, it's because they don't have any depth. So they're just doing these things on the surface
Yeah.
because there's no depth. Or you have somebody who is really deep and mature, but they're not very romantic. And I think today we feel like we have to pick and choose or sacrifice one or the other.
Yeah, because
So
when you say that, it makes me think about love bombing. And
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
y'all know what love? Okay, good. All right. So like, and I've had friends or experienced it with myself where it's like, it's in the beginning, it's like, oh my God, it's just flowers and just hearts. You're texting me every day. We're talking on the phone. Then it just stops. So like, it's like, okay, do I keep on dealing with or entertaining people that are doing this to me, or do I find something that's like solid? And it's like some of the men that I've dated, it's like it was always either or. Like I would get a guy, he was, but didn't know what a date was, or didn't know how to, be a gentleman. But then I had a guy who was like that, and I don't want a relationship. So it's kind of like that's the battles that I had to. Well, we go through right now.
Very much
so
we.
it's very much we go through right now. So
Yeah.
it is discouraging because it's like you do want to have that
yeah.
white picket fence and the dog in the yard and the kids and all that other stuff. But it's it derails you sometimes when you hear that, and it's like you're not really getting it.
Yeah. And maybe it's because our definition of romance maybe has shifted or has been a little bit skewed. And so one of the other questions that I wanted to ask was, what do we think about the difference between godly romance and the romance that we see portrayed in media? In the Daddy Letters, it was talking about how God has ordained romance, not just relationships, not just marriage, but romance specifically. I don't know that I really thought about it in that way. So what do you all think that means? What is godly romance in comparison to this image of romance that we've been fed, which is buying you 1,000 roses every single day, and some of these may be like unrealistic things?
I think that, the godly romance is exactly what God intended us to do. How we're in a relationship, who we're in a relationship with, what we should be doing in that relationship. The working together and the becoming more Christ-like together and keeping that kind of love and romance together. I think that, and I'm sure there are plenty of scriptures that talk about the man and the woman and the relationship that they should have and the support that they should have for each other in a godly fashion. And I think that that's what he means by that romance.
Okay, so it's combined with the responsibilities that each have in the relationship. Because I know that I've definitely heard about what God thinks about marriage and the role that the man or the woman should play and how we should work together and, become one flesh and, right? But then when I think about romance, I think about that as like separate or extra, like on top of that, like how we make one another feel more than just the function of the marriage and the function of the relationship. So you're saying that your idea of godly romance is built into the function of the relationship. Okay, I like
But
that.
that makes a question though, like what if the person isn't, I'm not saying not necessarily equally yoked, but, well, yes I am saying that, but a person that is trying to learn or trying to build their faith, like how would that look for godly romance?
Well, for me, I think I can kind of speak with some experience. My husband and I, when we first met, I was a member of the Church of Christ, and he wasn't. So, and I was grounded and rooted. He was just out in the world. So when he met me, it was some stipulations that I had because I knew the faith that I come from, and knowing that the background that he had, it wasn't going to be able to work if we was going to try to make it work. Somebody was going to have to give, and it wasn't going to be me because
Okay.
I mean, I was born and raised in the Church of
Yeah.
Christ. So for me to give in to him, just to be with him, was not an option for me. So therefore, he pretty much had to enter into my world. And so in entering into my world meant that this is what I expect from you if you want to be with me. Because I'm a child of God, period. I'm not going to go into your world. So as time went on, of course, we got together and things happened, and he ended up, getting baptized in the church, and then we ended up getting married. And as time went on, the both of us kind of grew together because, like I say, we were still young. We grew together in the church, learning in the church what marriage looks like, what marriage is supposed to be, how to be romantic with each other, how to learn from each other, love each other. So it was just a matter of growing together, basically, up until now, And so I think that now we're both at a space and a place where we know each other. We know each other's faith. We're grounded and rooted in each other's, with each other. But don't so much look at what the world projects as being romantic, because it can just like shield a false sense of, security. So to me, it's basically whatever you feel from your heart and from what it is that you expect out of your mate, and vice versa. So don't compare it. Don't look at it as, well, my friends are doing this or my friends are doing that. Just whatever that you feel in your heart, what you need and what will sustain you. So.
Yeah. Okay. Have you thought about godly romance or what that is or what that means?
I haven't. I didn't really know it was a thing. I guess I haven't really seen it with my parents. And I say parents because my mom, my dad, and stuff. I haven't necessarily seen it. But, well, yes, I could say that. Yes, I have, because of what she expressed. Yeah, I have seen it. But I feel like for me, even though I have witnessed it, I don't know what it would look like for myself.
Right.
So that's the part is like, I do understand where she's coming from, because that is something I have brought out with my relationships with guys that I've dated or whatever. And I did have to have stipulations to say, this is what it is. And, some stayed, some folded, But now I am more intentional when it comes to dating, because I know what I want in the end.
Right.
And I know if the things that I've asked for with God, if it's not aligning with me and him, then I can't continue. So I am more intentional of the things that I want, and God has always been a priority for me. So when it comes to relationships, he's more important than it was when I was dating in high school.
Right.
It was kind of secondary. But now that I'm older and I know the way I need to walk, he is top. He is top tier, and he's a priority for me. So I make sure that those stipulations are out. Oh, you go to church? Okay, great. Do you go to Bible study with me? Oh no, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. So I try to be more intentional. So with that, I feel like I am leading towards that, and I'm understanding it more. But I'm glad she did say that, because it kind of gave me some hope.
Well, and I guess
there's definitely hope. I mean, I had the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I met my husband, he knew about church, and he's had family members that were in the church, but I grew up.
Right.
Born, raised,
Right.
The
I
jump.
had
Right.
no dragged.
Dragged.
I was there.
Drag.
And so I, and that was something, I don't think we ever really talked about it necessarily. I would go to church. Oh, can I go? Well, sure. You know, and it had to be his decision.
Right.
Right.
Because I have had relationships where, oh yeah, okay, you're going to church, I'll come to church with you. Is it over? Is it, you know, that kind of
Right,
thing, and then
yeah.
you never see him again.
Right.
But with my husband, he had to learn that. He had to, I set him there and let him be comfortable in whatever space he was in. And he has to be able to accept, you know, because most of his family is Baptist.
Right.
And there's a difference.
Yeah.
And he had to find that out for himself. I couldn't,
Force
well,
it.
you know, my church is right.
Right.
Your church,
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
I
Yeah.
couldn't beat him over the head with
Right.
that
Right.
Right.
because he was trying to learn. So
Yeah.
I had to give him that space, but still be supportive of him because I knew that was the direction he was going in. Now, he was like, no, that's all right. No, you know, or I can't make it today or whatever. Then we would have another
Yeah, that would be the
conversation.
deal
Yeah.
breaker.
But when you
for
see
me.
that they're trying to make that change
Yeah.
and trying to learn, then you definitely want to support that.
Right.
Right.
How did it make you all feel that your partners at the time were had so much intention in exploring the things that mattered to you?
It made me feel. I mean, it made me feel good because, just like I said, when we first met, just like how Natalie said, it was a resistance, you know. But I stayed firm, and I guess because he saw that I was firm, and I wasn't going to be shaken, I wasn't going to be moved. Either it's either you or my God.
Right.
Right.
And I meant that.
Yeah.
And so when he saw that, well, yeah,
She means
she's
it.
serious. She
Yeah.
means this. You know, now it's time for you to humble down because if you really want to be in this relationship with me, this is what you have to
Comes
accept.
with it.
This is
Yeah.
what comes with it. You know, and so for him to show that, you know, and not just so much as saying, "Oh, I really want this woman, so I'm gonna do what I got to do to." It was, to me, it wasn't like that. It was more so, she's serious, and I better get with the program.
Yeah. Yeah. So it made
That's
you
kind of
feel
where I
good?
was
Yeah.
too with that because I didn't want it to be, oh, okay, so now everything's good.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I
Gotta
need
fake
some
up,
proof.
yeah.
Yeah.
I need to see some receipts.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I'm checking off every Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, when you
Yeah.
start to see things like that, and then when they're in the car waiting on you to go to church,
Right.
all right,
Yeah.
all right, you know.
Yeah. It's the genuine, like, an authentic way that they were seeking the Lord because you were seeking the Lord. And because that's the only way that they were going to be able to be in any kind of meaningful relationship with you. And I think I've seen and heard it happen too many times where someone
Right.
comes to church as a requirement.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they'll get baptized as, all right, okay, I got baptized, so now let's, you know,
Yeah.
now we, and then as soon as you're married or as soon as, you know, they get whatever commitment it is, then that kind of falters and goes to the wayside. So the romance in it was the genuine, like, intention that they had, which I think maybe is something that's missing nowadays when we look at dating and relationships. That I think a lot of times romance is used as like a bartering tool.
Right.
Or as a manipulation maybe sometimes, or a way to get something. But
yeah.
I think that maybe is what seems to be missing sometimes. You can speak to this as well. Sometimes
Yeah.
it seems like that genuine intention is missing, and so we do see a lot of the big flashy things, and
Yeah.
what we've seen in media and all these rom-coms is running through the airport to meet you
Yeah.
at your
Girl,
gate
right.
and
What?
professing your love and all of that, right? But what I'm hearing is that it's not those gestures
Yeah.
as much as it is the heart behind the gesture. That's where true romance is.
Right.
I know with my husband, it meant more to me when I saw him making that effort without me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he was wanting to learn more. He was wanting to get out there, and he was wanting to to learn more for him.
Right.
It didn't become it, and ultimately it became for us.
Yeah.
Right.
But because he was not in the church, he had to find that path. He had to make his way right with God, and then we were able to bring it together. And the fact that he took that initiative on his own,
Right.
and I didn't have to say, well, you need to go to church and talk to minister so-and-so, or
Right.
you
Right.
need to be counseled by. I did none of that. And the fact that he was able to take that initiative, and, I need to learn more about God this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
That's romance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
I think that is very different
Yeah.
than the romance that we see portrayed and the romance that maybe we have hoped for and wanted. I always say, I'm a hopeless romantic because I want someone to go out of the way and do things for me. I
Yeah.
want someone to make me feel special and to be thoughtful and intentional about me. Do you think that you can have good, healthy, godly relationships without romance?
I just say no for me because of the type of person that I am, and what I require and what I need. I've been through a lot relationship-wise, so I've came to a point to where these are the
Necessary.
non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Talking with God, being in a relationship with God, walking with God, non-negotiable. Being there, attentive, being thoughtful, non-negotiable. So it's kind of to where like how they say some things you can bend for, but for me, that relationship with God and me and you actually trying to do it together,
Right.
I need that.
Right.
Because I know, we were meant to be on this earth to work together. And I'm saying that as in like a whole, as a human race, us working together as a whole. So when you have a person that you are considering to be in a relationship with, there should be some type of balance where we are working with each other to better each other. Right. There will probably be areas where I need to work on and grow, and you're there to lift me up on that side, vice versa. So when it comes to my relationship with God, I need someone who's willing to do that with me, even if I feel that I am not, because I try not to put me on this pedestal like I'm, me and God
Judging.
Right.
or judging, or we're close. I know that I'm a constant working, entity to get closer to Him. So if I have a person that's like, okay, me too. I'm
Right.
trying to do that too. That is
Iron sharpens
romantic to
iron,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Romance.
Yeah, that is definitely God
What,
romance.
what you have to also look at what would that really look like to be in a relationship without romance.
I've seen it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it looks. I'm just
Right,
sitting
right.
here and imagining
Yeah.
what it would look like. You're in a relationship with someone, whether it be in a relationship or in a marriage with someone, and there's no romance. I'm just picturing you get up in the morning, you don't speak, you don't talk, you don't say goodbye, you go to work, you come home, and it's like just nothing.
It's distant.
It's distant. I can't imagine that. Because if I felt I needed to be in that type of relationship with someone, then I can just be by myself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I can't imagine what that looks like.
Yeah. Sometimes I think about the biblical marriages and how they were orchestrated and how there was no romance. They were not, they weren't based on romance. It was your family has these resources and my family has these, and we're going to work together and work well together towards this mission, this common goal. And they were successful in doing that and reaching these goals and missions. There's a lot of other things about marriage that we don't, they had 70,000 wives.
Right.
But
Right. So romance
that
is
whole
kind of hard.
that whole concept though of how God put people together was a different criteria, I think, than maybe we use today now. So this whole concept of godly romance, I think, is separate from what we've maybe heard and seen when it comes to biblical relationships. And there's a lot that we say about the role that we should play and the functionality of it, and we're supposed to be the helper. And we talk a lot about like legacy and building with one another and being a team and work, which is a part of it. But I do think that it's that you can have maybe when we're focusing so much on the work and on the hard and on the grittiness of it, I think it's easy to lose the specialness
Yeah.
and the romantic part of it and the romantic element of it. So then when we hear people who have been married for so long and like, oh, the spark is gone, but we have these 2 or 3 properties and all of our kids are good and set up and we've got the grandkids and we've got that, and it sometimes from afar seems like there's a trade-off
Right.
that we have to be willing to make and have to be willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right, and then now as the dating pool seems to be a little bit shaky, we're making that sacrifice initially, kind of early on, right? So what can we say about maybe finding and keeping some of that balance? Like, is it okay to still want to feel special and to want my partner to like do fun, cute, little things and make me feel special and do thoughtful things, or is that not a priority?
No, that's definitely a priority.
Because I know one of the questions talks about like communication and like the lack of communication. How does that affect? And I feel like that definitely does affect romance, because if you're not communicating or advocating for yourself on your needs and wants, then the other person is not going to know. Because it was one thing I had to learn. I can't just assume that people are going to do
What you want them
what I want them to do, because I can't. I'm my own self, and a lot of times when it comes to other people, I get very frustrated and irritated because I expect people to act how I act.
Yeah.
Like, why is no one thoughtful as me? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's very simple.
Right.
But I had to learn, because I am dating someone right now, I had to learn that I have to speak up. Some things is time. Sometimes it'll be an uncomfortable conversation, but I have to say my piece and then, of course, get their side. Or if I feel like they're not communicating effectively to me, then there has to be times we have to sit down and have more uncomfortable uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
But it has helped, especially when I've reached out to my friends that have been in relationships longer than I have, for their advice, and it does work. It does help, and I feel like communication is very important when it comes to that, because it can spark or unspark the romance between the two, especially if you're not able to communicate what you need,
Right.
or what you want from your other person.
Right, yeah. So the question is, can romance survive poor communication? So I guess that's the question on the
Yeah.
table now, because I think there are some situations where like we're not communicating well and we're not seeing eye to eye, but I bought you some flowers. Right,
not
so
gonna work.
what do we think about that? Can romance survive poor communication? How do the two work together?
No, it
No.
cannot.
The
It
OGs
cannot.
have spoken.
Right, no.
No, don't even attempt that. It just it doesn't work, because how do I know what you want? How does he know what I want if we're not having that conversation? Then we're just kind of sitting there looking goofy at each other and just here I'll throw a gift at you, is no, okay, and then here I'll throw this at no.
Yeah.
It's a guessing game, and why?
Yeah.
Who wants to live the rest of their lives guessing? Is it okay? Is this safe? Can I do this? Can I not do that? When you know what is going on, what's expected, how you're going to both manage the relationship and grow together, have to talk.
Yeah. Would you add anything to that, Sister Broadnax?
Well, I mean, I don't like the elephant in the room type of situations. When you've had this thing or these words pass between you, and then you go days without communicating, that in itself turns a romantic anything off. Just to be in the same atmosphere as someone that you just had a miscommunication with. So I mean, I agree with Natalie. You have to know how to say what you need to say. Don't harp on it. Get it out, and hopefully that the other person, receives it the way you intended it for it to come out. So I've learned over the years, because I have a mouth. I'm not happy all the time about it, but that's my way of expressing my feelings, whether it be however I'm feeling in that moment. And sometimes it can be good, sometimes it can be bad, but at the end of the day, you have to still be thankful that you have a partner who, if they know you and they know what it is that you're feeling, it'll come out for the better, So just expressing yourself and just being able to just sit down and talk. Just talk. And you need to have someone in your corner that'll be willing to just listen. Because as women, we all are venters. We like to vent.
Yes.
And sometimes men, they hear you. They
Yes.
kind of wish you heard them say what you got to say and be quiet.
Right.
But in the moment of your venting, just, don't put them in a position to where they feel like they have to be the ones to fix whatever it is you're venting about. But just to get it out and just to know that you have someone there to sit and listen to you until you get it out.
Yeah. Right.
That, to me, that's romantic in itself as well.
Yeah. So Daddy Letter number 10 was all about communication. And so I want to talk about that some more. So I know we have 2 who are married, but all 3 of you are in relationships, right? So I think it'd be kind of interesting to hear how it has been developing your communication style with your partner. So like relatively new, you're probably in the process of developing that. And y'all got some skin in the game. So we want to hear about what that has been like, learning not just how to communicate, but when you're coming together with someone, like each individual person has their own communication styles. And we have to find a way to have compatible communication with one another coming from our own respective starting places. So how have you navigated that? What was it like and what is it like trying to figure that out?
Honestly, my 28 years of marriage, we're still learning communication.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to.
Wow.
Sorry.
I was hoping it was like
just, because different things create different situations.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you're never going to have the same thing happening.
Over.
This day is never going to,
Yeah.
you're never going to see this day again. So anytime that something comes up, you have to find a way, okay, so how are we going to tackle this together? How are we going to deal with this together? And full transparency, sometimes we don't agree, and sometimes the communication, and it's gonna, we're human.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen, and don't expect it to always work. Don't expect it to always, the communication to always have an answer. Sometimes you gotta talk about it and then step back and think about it.
Right.
Or sometimes you may step back and think about it first, and then talk about it, right? So, I mean, it really just depends on the situation, what the conversation is about, and then you guys have to have a way to come together to have that conversation where you're not, I'm not telling you that you have to do it my way, but let's figure out a way that we can make
To
it.
do it
Yeah.
together.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Mental note.
And then the other thing is too, you have to know how to just, sometimes it is best to just leave well enough alone.
I'm telling you, I'm notes.
And in my experience is sometimes it's just best to leave well enough alone, because if you know that this conversation is uncomfortable even for you and for him, if you can yourself just kind of sit back and just, I guess, figure out how to work through it without causing
Pick your battles.
Yeah.
exactly. Without causing that uncomfortable feeling for the both of you, it's just best to just sometime leave well enough alone.
Okay. I see you're absorbing all of this.
I'm taking it.
This
Right.
poor boyfriend, he is in for it. Isn't
You know,
She's growing.
I'm growing. Because it's funny though.
Sometimes you have to go sit on the patio and just sit there and listen to the birds and watch the
I've learned.
birds fly by and
Hey,
just pray about it and
Right.
Yeah,
move
pray.
on.
Gotta pray about it. It's just funny though, because when I was in my last relationship was like years ago. So I was a different person. Now that I'm in this relationship and I'm a whole new person, it's just I'm trying to take what I've learned with my past relationships and how I, dated and what the things that I need. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm doing it and I'm doing it with God in mind this time, because I feel like the other times while I've dated, it wasn't necessarily God-centered. So I'm really trying to do it. But it's funny that y'all talk about y'all story with y'all husbands. Is like I kind of feel like I'm in the same situation. So it's like I don't want to pound him with a Bible, but I want to give him time to like grow into it. Because I know from watching my biological father wasn't a part of the church. And my dad's family was like Methodist. So like I've been to Methodist church. I would go to Methodist church with my grandmother and my dad. And then when my parents divorced, you know, he still was Methodist. And then all of a sudden, like, my dad started going to churches. And then he became more involved in that type of church. So I was like, oh, okay. So eventually, that what happened to him. So the guy that I'm dating now, he grew up Baptist. So it's like, okay, he's willing to come. I'm willing to go with him. So I want to give him his time and his space to grow, but I still want to be able to grow on my end as well. And in the back of my head is like, okay, am I doing this because I just want the relationship, or am I doing this because I see something in us together for us to grow with God? So that's the part, it's where, okay, I tend to teeter on that, because I do want to be intentional with my person. I do want us to learn together. So when it comes to those, I don't have it. The conversations are uncomfortable, but I'm glad that we're able to have that, and he's willing to do it. So I'm big on a willing and a trying man. So like, if he's willing and trying, I'm open to doing that with him. But if he wasn't, then I wouldn't be up here with a relationship.
Well, I think my suggestion to you is just be you. You know, just continue to be the example for him, so that he can see. Just because, like I said earlier, if he truly wanted to be with you, he know that he can't force you out of what you believe in. You know, not so. He has to see that you're serious about your faith, and you just stay steady, stay steadfast. You know, don't force him. You know, don't try to make it seem like what he's doing, he's wrong, and you should come my way. Just be yourself, and just continue doing what you're doing by setting an example.
Right.
You know, and I mean, and if he truly loves you, he'll follow. You know.
And if he truly loves God, then he's going to be seeking
I need him
truth.
to love the Lord.
Right.
For sure. I need to love the Lord.
Because he's watching you.
Right.
You know, and if he sees you doing these godly things, and then if he's going to want to be with you, he's going to want to learn more about you and more about what you're doing, and so he'll come along on his own. You won't have to knock him over.
Yeah, because that's how I with my stepdad. So
Yeah.
he did that too with my mother.
Leave well enough alone.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna have to write that somewhere. I like that one for sure.
One of the things that I've noticed, going back to communication, is that I see conflict when people have different styles of communicating, different approaches to things, right? So there's like a high context communicator and a low context communicator. Those sometimes bump heads. We have the person who wants to talk about things right away, and we have the person who wants to sit and wait first and then not. So what is your communication style, and how does that differ from the communication style of your husband or your boyfriend?
I think I'm either or. It depends on the situation and how emotional I am about it, or passionate about the situation. If it's because we didn't have like a argument, but it was like a discussion. So I chose to like sit back and let it play out and then talk about it later. But then sometimes when I do get too emotional, because I'm trying to respond and react. Because when I react, it's just straight emotion, no logic, mad, crying, whatever it is. But if I respond, I'm taking a step back out of the situation, and I'm looking at it like, okay, I need a breather. Let me make sure how I'm coming with it. So it just, for me, it depends on the situation to take it head on or take a step back. For what I'm learning from him is that he rather kind of talk about it, especially if it's something that concerns me. He, like you said, wants to like fix the problem. But I notice when it comes to him, he'll kind of like sit and then he'll wait. And then when it gets to the point where I'll be like, are you okay? And then that's when the conversation goes. So I feel like we just have to figure out what a balance of reading each other. Is this a high tense situation? Do we need to take a step back? Or is it a low tense situation where we can kind of handle it now? So I think for me, it just depends on where it is.
For me, it's high. It's always high.
High context, like you give a lot of reason for things.
Well, yeah, I give a lot of reason for things, but it's mostly high for me because I guess I'm an overthinker. I can be an overthinker sometimes, and I can sometimes just
Can't we all?
see things, and not only in the moment, but it's almost like I can foresee the outcome of it, you know. And then if the outcome kind of evens out or outweighs the beginning of it. You know, I want to fix it. Let's just talk about it. Let's get it over with. Because I believe if you don't, you let it sit, you let it fester. I believe in this, what I call the tornado cycle, that sits there in the air and waits and waits and waits, and what you don't fix now, it's just like a tornado
It's
swoops
still
up,
there.
and it's still there, waiting for the next something to come along, to swoop down and then manifest in that and cause it to be a bigger problem and a bigger problem, you know. So I like to just, let's clear the air, let's get it out of the way, move on. So when the next cyclone, because there's going to be a next one.
It will, yeah.
When that next cyclone comes, it doesn't bring back, you know, what was there that we left undone and unsaid, you know. So
Now, how does that differ from your husband's communication style, or does it differ?
it differs, because
Okay.
a lot of times he don't want to deal with it. A lot of times he don't want to deal with it, and so it leaves me kind of flustered, because I'm like, come on, let's just move on from this, please. Let's just get it out. Let's just finish it, talk about it, move on, you know. And a lot of times he's kind of like, okay, yeah, I don't want to deal with it, you know, but I don't force him to, but I still put it on the table. It needs to be taken care of
At some point.
and solved at some point,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, very interesting. Sister Carr?
Yeah, I'm the communicator.
Okay.
Very heavy, the communicator. And it's funny because, well, maybe not so funny, but, you know, I want to talk about it. And the thing with my husband and I is I can see when something's on his mind, or see when there's something bothering him or something like that. And I'll ask him, I say, well, you want to talk about it? No. Well, why don't you want to talk about it? You know, and
I
then
want to talk about why you don't want to talk
Yeah,
about it.
exactly. Why you don't wanna talk about
Yeah.
it. But, you know, but that's me. I want to talk about it. I want to get whatever is going on with me, I want it out, because I tend to hold things, and then it festers and it festers. And that's destroying me. Nobody else is being bothered by what's going on inside of me. So that's why I feel like I always have to talk about it. I need to get it out, because otherwise I feel like it's destroying my heart, you know, in my head. And then that's all I'm thinking about. And that's all I'm concerned about. And so, and I think with my husband, it can kind of drive him crazy, because I'll chase him to the house. Okay, so are we going to talk about it now? So are we going to, when are we going to talk about it? You know, that kind of thing. And I think that, too, it can be what the conversation is about, because he can come to me with things. And I don't want to talk about it. Well, I mean, 'cause I'm like, well, that's not important. But it's important to him.
Right.
You know, and so and it's so funny, because we do this a lot to each other now. We'll be in different rooms doing whatever, and we mute or pause or whatever it is that is taken away from that attention, and we devote that attention to what they have to say. And I do it a lot more than he does, honey, if you're out there. But you know, it's giving them that respect. You know, I may not agree with what we're going to have, what conversation is about to happen, or what we're about to discuss, but I'm going to respect your time and your voice, and I'm going to hear what you have to say, and I'm going to respond with love and concern. I'm not going to jump back at you. Well, how are you going to come to me with this when my soaps are on? Or, you know, you know, I want him to feel that what is on his mind is as important.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. When I think about the verse that talks about when you are in a relationship with a person, and then God's also there, and it says that the strand of 3 cords is not easily broken. And so when I think about things that you're going to have to work through in marriage, that you're going to really need, you know, God in the middle of it, it's everything, of course, but I think communication is at the top of that list. So what is God's role in all of that, in your communication in your respective relationships? Is prayer a part of that communication, or how do we do this? How do we navigate these different communication styles and challenges with God?
That's a good one.
Think about that.
You definitely have to include him.
What does that look like, practically speaking?
For me, it would be separating myself from whatever is distracting me, at that moment, and finding my own little place to ask, come on, God, come on, man,
Right.
you got to help me out here. You know,
Right.
having that conversation with him and getting that clarity, and then if we had to pause the conversation, let's do that. Let's go to our neutral corners and have our talk, and then come back together and hopefully have a conclusion that we can both both agree on and understand. And that's not easy, because you're telling me to stop arguing or stop fighting with you right now, and go to a mutual corner, and and think about this, and and find out where exactly I need to, what I can contribute that won't destroy or won't mess up my relationship. You know what I'm saying? So.
And I agree, because I know it's been a lot of moments that I'll just call Jesus before I even open my mouth.
You got to call him.
Especially if I know where it might end up. So, but even in the midst of it, just like Natalie says, sometimes you just have to pause, because if it gets to that point where it gets escalated or it gets out of hand, somebody got to give at some point, And so for me, sometimes I don't like to end it, because I want to end it on a better note than what it is now. So if that looks like 2 or 3 hours or whatever of trying to get my point across, but still within that, at some point, even myself have to say, you know what, stop. And then that's when I go to myself. And then that's when I go into my prayer mode, because I'm praying that whatever the situation may be or whatever the circumstances is, God is still there. It looks ugly right now, but God is still there. And so to go into your neutral corner, pray about it, ask God to fix it and bring us together again. If it means move on from it, this situation may not even get fixed or rectified or solved, okay, because that's how God wanted it to be. Just leave it alone. And let, just leave it alone. Just, as I said, leave well enough alone and move on, because God, this is what God is asking us to do in this moment. And so that works for us,
Because you come to a point where now you're not even listening to
Right.
And when it gets like that, then it escalates. And then you really have a problem. And you have to learn when to step back and say, let's take a minute.
Because you don't want to get to the point where you still love each other, but then you stop liking each other. And so that's where you don't want to be. You always want to continue to love, continue to romance, but you don't ever want to get to the point where because then you feel like you're just living with this person.
Out of obligation, because I made this commitment.
Because of this or because of that. And, but, so at some point you just have to learn how to just stop. Just let God intervene and let him work it out.
Well, I'm trying to think which direction I want to go. I have multiple questions that are coming up in my head right now. Well, you brought something up that was in one of the Daddy letters, which was about liking one another and the difference between loving and liking one another. Can you speak about having to navigate through seasons where maybe you don't like each other as much as you did in other seasons? Because life happens and our relationships go through different things and trials and tribulations. How do we get through some of those rough patches where it is the love and the obligation that's keeping us here, and the like is going to come back around? How do we get through that? Does your communication change at all through that, willingly or unwillingly, right? Not that I don't like you, so I'm not going to be as considerate when I'm, talking to you, but what is it like trying to work through a conflict in those times where you're in a rough patch in your relationship in comparison to working through a conflict when you're not in as rough of a patch? Does that make sense? Yeah.
I'm not there yet, so.
Right, we need it. We listen to you.
Yeah, we listen to y'all.
Well,
I kind of still like him.
when you're in that tough time and that tough moment, it's just like in any relationship, friendship or whatever relationship, and you have that time when you just don't like that person because of whatever they said or did, but a lot of times you have to just really look deep within yourself and see whatever it was that drew you two together, that brought you two together, And that to me is what sustains everything. Because is it a lot of times I like my husband? No. Is it a lot of times he get on my nerves? Yes, but I'm pretty sure he can say the same for me.
Sure.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what's most important? You know, is it the fact that I don't like you, or is it the fact that I love you more than I don't like you? You have to look and find that base. You know, and that base for us is what brought us together. You know, and so that's what keeps us. You know, that's what sustains us. You know, I mean, it don't look pretty all the time. You know, and there are some days, like I say, there are some days that I don't like them. I just, you know, oh my God.
You again?
But I have to say,
Not
he
you
probably
again.
feels the same
Yeah.
way about me.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
what's the basis keeping us together? It's got to be love,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any additional experiences for that, Sister Carr? Just working through things when you're in those rough patches in comparison to working through things when you're not in as rough of a patch?
I think that especially if you're talking about the fact that I don't like you right now, you know, I think that that's just a word that we kind of use. We don't mean it. You know, I mean, and as when you're single and dating and things like that, you could very well mean it. You know, I don't like you, but
What?
in a
It's
marriage,
easier to bail when
Right.
you just date.
Right.
but in a marriage, you know, we don't really mean that. I
Yeah.
don't like you. It
And
just
not like what you're
means,
doing right now or how you're
yeah,
making me
I
feel
don't
right
like
now.
the action. I don't
Mhm.
like
Right.
where we're at with this. I don't like the direction that the conversation's going. And that's what I don't like you could very well mean in our situations, I think, because we have to like you.
Yeah.
She said yes.
You gotta eat. You know, so you have to think about stuff like that, and you go, you know, we just need a timeout. You
Yeah.
go in your corner, and I'll go in mine, and then you just come back together, and we love each other now. We don't just like each other. We find that common. You know, it took me a minute, and I see where you're coming from, and you know, you can say the same thing,
Right.
and now we're back. It's all good.
And
It's like
that's when the-
kids. You know, one
Yeah.
minute they don't like each other,
Yeah.
next minute they're
Best
hugging
friends
and-
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's when the creativity comes back in. Now we just sitting here looking at TV together because
Yep.
we're back in love.
We like each other.
We like each other, get to
We
come
like
sit
each other
down.
again.
That's when they say instead of apologizing, you just say, "Are you hungry?"
Yeah. Yeah. Heard that a few times.
Yeah.
And my husband's tried that. That don't work.
No,
She said she's not hungry.
it don't work.
Don't ask me if I'm hungry.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of those things that we kind of hear about, but you don't know until you're in it what it's going to be
Yeah.
like. We know that there are going to be times where we're getting along better than in other times, and we want to be prepared to work through some of those, but I don't know that we always hear what it's like to work through those moments or to work through those spaces. And I think you're right. When you're dating, it's completely different. And that was another question that I had was, 'cause there were some questions that they gave us just related to like how should single people approach certain things like this versus married people approaching. So I guess I'm curious about how your communication changed when you got married, or if it changed. How was it different? How did you navigate those things when you were dating in comparison to when you were married? And then for Rachel, I guess the question is like, like you're like, why are you asking me anything?
I mean, I'm here for the question.
But like, you know, what do you anticipate changing when you get married, whether to this person or to another? We're just
Right.
saying in general, right? Like what
We don't know.
what do you anticipate maybe having to change? I think that's what I hear people talk about the first year of marriage, and they're always like, ooh, it was just,
Yeah.
right? And so I guess for being single on the outside, I'm curious about, well, what are the things that are catching you so off guard? What are the things
Right.
that are so different
Yeah.
when you're married from when you're, I mean, I know some of the main things, like we're not living together and like sharing bills and all that,
Right.
but what are the more nuanced things that catch you off guard that you have to do differently when you're married than when you were
Right.
single?
Yes. I would love to know.
Even the conversations, like what you were saying, even that changes. You know, because when you're dating, you're centered around this kind of conversation. When you're engaged, the conversation gets a little bit deeper. That 1, 2, 3, 4 year marriage, the conversation gets a little bit deeper. And then as you as we age, we get kids, the conversation changes. You get grandchildren, the conversation is going to change. You're dealing with your elderly parents, the conversation is going to change. So it's always evolving. You're never going to know exactly what to say in what situation, because you could be having the same conversation over and over with somebody, but then something in that conversation changes, and you're looking at it differently, or there's a different way to view it, or something like that. So you have to be ready to pivot. You have to be ready to adjust to whatever that change is, especially if you want to continue to have that person in your life. You know, well, the last time we had this conversation, you know, it went this way, but this time we seem to be more, you know, understanding, or could be the other way around.
Less understanding.
Because I'm new to this again. For me, it's kind of like, okay, I have to be more considerate.
Oh no, does that hurt to say?
I have to actually
I
think
have to
about
be more
someone
considerate
else.
of someone else's feelings. And that part kills me, because it's like, oh wow, I really have to like think of another person, because it's been always about me. And I mean, I'm a very giving person. I'm a very, you know, helpful person, but it's like, this person is kind of like an extension of me, and I'm an extension of them. So it's like, I do have to be mindful of the things that I say or do, because this person comes in, you know, this person is now part of my life. So, and I would love to keep this person around. So there are some things where I had to be like, okay, I'm gonna sit back, or I'm gonna mind my tongue this time, or I'm gonna choose this battle. So it's definitely different. And there's been times I'm like, Lord, help me, because I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't have that many friends that are in the same boat as me. They're either married, or they've been dating this person for a long time, or they're not, their relationship with God is not as important in their relationship, or, you know, they're just kind of two different beings just happened to get together. So it's like, so it's hard for me sometimes when I'm looking for God. I'm like, can you just please just give me a direct answer of what I'm doing? And I know he's not going to do that, because literally I was like, Lord, can you just tell me yes or no? Like, it'd be great. So that's why I try to, because I am an overthinker. So I do worry about, you know, I do overthink and I go overboard sometimes. So I try to, you know, rear myself back in and just focus on what is in front of me and how I feel in that moment with that person, and how we're able to go through each of our different type of situations that we encounter with each other. So it is difficult, but I do see the progression that we are getting better.
Y'all growing together.
Because I'm also seeing and this is the crazy part, when you start seeing yourself in another person. Woo, it's really eye-opener.
Well, that's what they say. Getting into a relationship is like looking in a mirror, right? Because your relationship is only going to magnify whatever issues it was that you already had.
And that's why I have to be mindful, and I have to be very careful with things I say, because of that. Because I see there's times where like, oh, I do that, and or I get upset when things are said to me that way. So I want to make sure that I am being fair with myself and the other person in it, because I do have to give. We have to give each other grace. And that's something I ask for all the time. Like, just be patient with me. I promise I'm just not trying to be mean, or I'm not trying to be, you know, insensitive. Just be patient, because I'm going to give the same in return. So I just, it's eye-opener for me right now.
You're figuring it out.
Girl. Doing my best.
You're doing good.
I'm doing my best.
Sister Broadnax, was there anything that you found that surprised you about how different it was in marriage than when you were dating?
It's been 34 years ago. That's been
I know, we got to think back in the vault.
I have to go way back in the vault. I mean, for us, coming from two different worlds, you know, and then now where we are now, just looking back, there were a lot of things that I did to assure myself that I wouldn't get caught up or get, you know, fall into certain traps or, you know, certain way of thinking, you know, not, and then looking at it now, I'm kind of glad I did stay firm, and stay stern with my faith and making sure that I stayed intentional. But our whole marriage has been all kinds of roller coasters,
Yeah.
all kinds of, ups and downs and ins and outs and stuff like that. But just looking back, I'm glad that we're where we are right now, in the midst of all the storms and everything that's ever came in our life, and we stayed together and stayed faithful with each other.
Yeah, yeah. That's been really, really encouraging to hear. I think one of our last questions, a question that I have, because God is the third person in the relationship, right? Do you all pray together? Do you talk to God together about your relationship?
We've done that together. That's something that, because I tend to still do, like I tend to still pray on my own. But that is something that I do want us to do more together. We've done it together. So as long as the conversation with God is continuously going, I feel like we'll be good and we'll continue to grow together. But for me, it's like I don't want to, like I was saying earlier, I don't want to force you into this. I want you to be as genuine as possible and be open to sharing your side or how you feel on certain situations. But the communication with God has to be there. And even if it's just me grabbing hands and say, let's pray, however it is, as long as we keeping that open communication with God, I feel like he's going to continue to cover us in our relationship.
And I think the older we are, we're tending to do a lot of praying with each other a lot.
That's good.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
There are certain situations that we do stop and we do pray, with each other and stuff, as opposed to in our younger years. But, now that we're, where we are now in life, prayer together is important.
Good.
It is.
Yeah.
There's in our relationship, we do on occasion, but I can say in full transparency, Reggie does a lot of it without me, and I do. Not because I'm bad.
No.
They go, oh my God, you gotta pray for her.
Yeah.
No, it's just because that's where he is. That if you tell him I got a hangnail, let's pray about it. He wants.
Amen.
That's just where he is.
Yeah.
And I'm not there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And so when especially if it's something that we're disagreeing on or something like that, I will go pray alone. We probably should pull it together and do it together. And I'm not saying that no, we'd never do that, because we probably should do that. But the fact that we do still pray for each other,
Right.
I think that, and we both know to go to God with that, even though we're not doing it together.
Yeah.
But yeah, we probably should.
Yeah. Because that's for me. I've always known, like, anything, get down on your knees and pray.
Got
or
to.
if you by yourself in the shower, in the car,
Yeah.
look up. Or you in a situation,
Right.
literally just look up and be like,
All right now.
come down here. So
I had a certain situation that happened to me a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling my husband about it, and I said, have you been praying for me? And he go, always.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
I love
Yeah.
it. That's good.
Love
That's
that.
good. Well, since as we're wrapping up here, I think it's really been a blessing, especially for Rachel and I, to be able to, hear from you all and to really just gain some of that wisdom. So, as we're closing, would both of you mind? What would be one encouragement that you would give to those of us who are unmarried but seeking marriage? If you had to just give like one piece of encouragement, if you had to just drop one last gem for us before we go, what would that be?
Be yourself. Be genuine to yourself. Be true to yourself. Don't look so much as what the world is doing to make a relationship or what they think a relationship looks like. Just be you, and your significant other will see that light in you. And if it's important enough to them, if it's something that they can see that they need for themselves, whatever whatever energy you're putting out there, positive, godly image and energy that you're putting out there, it'll grow on them. You know, you don't have to force it. You don't have to beat them over the head. Just be you and stand firm in what you believe in, and let God do the rest.
That's good. That's good.
Ditto.
She said
We need 2 jams.
no, we need two of them.
Well, and I was going to add to it, but I agree with what
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
Sister Broadnax said, because, and you have to put God first.
Mm-hmm.
If it's meant for you, it's going to
Yeah, it's
happen.
gonna happen.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you
Firm
could be
believer in
giving
that.
it everything you've got, and it just doesn't work out.
Right.
And you have to be able to accept that
Yeah.
and know that that was God's plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because if it's for you, got to make sure that
Then
you
it
have
happen.
it. And so I think that that's where you have to go. And that's hard, because you'll see him, okay, well, fine. You know, and he'll walk off and you never see him again, and you're sitting there with your heart broken.
Mm-hmm.
But then that's when you look up. And that's when you have to ask God to get you through that. And then you could be walking up the street and here comes somebody else. And he's much better than the one that walked off. So you just, and you never
God's
know.
plan.
If you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
looking for it, that's when you
Yeah.
find it.
That's what
I
I'm
wasn't
saying.
looking for mine.
Yeah.
He just popped up somewhere. And so he did,
So I
honestly.
went looking
I'll have to tell you the story one day.
Please.
But,
Okay. We need it. As soon as we cut, we want the
Right,
story.
what's the story?
but yeah, so I mean, and I wasn't looking. I wasn't needing anything else in my life at the time. And God put him there for a reason. And God put the battles that we had and the praying that we had and the teaching, that everything that we went through, God put that there in front of us and to find out how we were going to handle it.
Right.
Right.
And that's what we did. So I think that putting God first is going to be your number one. And when it hurts, you got to talk to God about it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much
Thank y'all
for this conversation and for
welcome.
joining us today.
Of
We are going to burn this into our memories
It's in
and remember
there.
it
No, they're going
forever.
to come back at us and say, well, you said.
That too. That too.
That too.
That too.
Definitely will.
So thank you,
We have
ladies, for
disclaimers.
joining me today. Thank you all for joining us for this episode of the Orange Peel Podcast, and we hope that you will come back.
Peace out.
Bye.
That was good. We did it.
We done.
Apple pie.